everybody. Reinhard, hi.
Hello and welcome. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are around the world. Welcome back. Welcome to the Lightemup Lounge. Beautiful outdoor setting today. Beautiful July summer day. And we have wonderful people with us. We have a wonderful guest and plenty of great stories to tell. We've been waiting for this for a long time. And actually, Didier, you were on the show. I believe it was the second show that we ever did with Lightemup, together with Heiko.
Oh, yes.
We had Mark Andre joining us back then. It was during the first lockdown, during the COVID-19 pandemic and the really early days of Lightemup. So here we are back today. I'm delighted and very happy to welcome you to talk a little bit about your incredible book. The second edition came out this year, The Cigar from Soil to Soul. And we want to talk about your cigars, your journey, your experience. So without further ado, Didier Houvenaghel, welcome to the Lightemup Lounge.
Well, thank you, Remy. So I completely forgot that we did that. Indeed, now I remember. Now I do remember. Yes, and I'm really happy to see that your concept and your perseverance and your ideas are going through, and then you do those sessions quite often and with great success, and people speak highly of it. So no, thank you for organizing this, and. Yes, thanks for organizing this one also. I know it has been difficult because you proposed that a few months back, and I said, look, maybe let's wait a little bit more until I relaunch everything, because the last few steps of finalizing the book were quite daunting and difficult. So I was a bit stressed with that. So thanks for being perseverant in inviting me. And I'm super happy to be here, and again on Zoom. To be frank, it's a long time I didn't do that anymore. Even during the COVID time and the restrictions and the lockdowns, we were super active. So I was doing that every week, like a lot of people. I think this slowed down a little bit, but thanks for keeping on doing that also. And yeah,
with great pleasure. And I mean, it's all about the community, and it's about the friendship and the camaraderie. We have built wonderful relationships with so many of our dear friends joining us here every single week for those live sessions. And initially, when we started, we did 3 shows a week on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday night, and it kept us all sane in a certain way during those
yes,
lockdowns,
exactly.
and during the challenging first days. But Lightemup grew, and it became a global community of your friends and fellows, and I'm just utterly grateful for the positive things that have happened because of that. But what a journey it has been for you with your own cigar brands. We want to talk about that, but in particular with your book. And I don't know if any of the people out there watching us today, except the ones who wrote books themselves, but whether they can fathom or even imagine what a tremendous effort and work it is that goes into writing and publishing your own book. You brought out the Cigar de la culture à l'art in 2005, I believe.
Yes.
And the English version, The Cigar from Soil to Soul, was first published in 2008, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And here we are, 2022, and you have upped the game. You raised the bar yet again. Tell us a little bit about what it actually means to bring this all together and bring such a project to life?
Yes. So yeah, that's a nice introduction. You do. Thanks. And so many ideas come to my mind, and so many things I want to share about that journey of, starting as an engineer, leaving Belgium, going to Cuba, doing a postgraduate studies, starting with some cigars, with Nicaraguan, the first brand. But maybe today I want to put the brand on the side, because I have, like you said, I have two caps. One cap commercial, which comes after the scientific approach, because I started with this through the universities, through the scholar side of the business, I would say. Yes, and then the 2005 in French. So my first published book, so which is already a big work, in the sense that it was only the writing, because I went through a big publishing house from Paris. I'm from Belgium, but I'm French talking, as my accent can say, and but I went through a publishing house. So basically, the author only writes, and then you give the manuscript, and they do all the rest. 2008 was a bit slight evolution, because the translation, it was the first translation to English. I did it under my accounts, so I don't know how to say exactly in English, but when the author is taking all the investment and doing the whole project up to the printing. So I did that in 2008, but for some reason I didn't want to promote it so much, for several reasons. For maybe if you. This is. I have so many things to share, and then the guys around tonight, they know me, and then how passionate I am to share all those things. So really, it's please ask all the questions, and we are here for that. I don't want to start talking alone. I can talk for hours, but that's not so interesting. So it's better to exchange. But 2008. So don't be scared to interrupt and jump in, right? And ask all the questions. I don't know how you organize through this chat, and then you stop me, but really it needs to be interactive.
It's fairly easy, it's relaxed, and we just want to enjoy this special moment. So all the people who join us here at the lounge, you guys, the spiel, make yourselves heard, unmute yourself, put your questions into the chat box, and everybody who's watching us on Facebook today, they can all post their questions underneath the live stream. I'm watching, I'm checking, and I'll make sure to forward all those questions to you. And if I just may add one element right there, Didier very kindly and graciously offered us a special discount code. So for all our Lightemup friends, fellows, and community, if you use the code Lightemup, all in one go, you get a 10% discount upon purchasing the book from Didier's website, which is cigarthinker.com.
Yes, and then it will point to the edition house website, which is Edition de Myosotis. One thing, just to answer your first question, also why this edition is so special, maybe for two things, because I was quite frustrated by the English edition of 2008, for two reasons. That I can go deeper into later if you guys are interested. And second, because the second edition is much bigger than the first. The first edition was 168 pages, one volume, and the second one is 2 volumes, 11 chapters instead of 6, and 316 pages, something like that. So I need double the contents after. Because the 2008 edition was a pure, literal translation of the 2005. So maybe I'm not wrong if I'm saying that the second edition of the English version has 15 years of additional thoughts, ideas, conversation. When we sit around a table and a good drink, and we discuss about cigars, and we say, hey, did you ever observe this on your cigar? And then together or all around the table, we start thinking about new ways to taste or new ways to see a cigar and stuff like this. And also all the seminars I've been doing by presenting the cigar brands also helped me simplify, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm coming from the scientific side, so I tend to complexify sometimes certain things. And then it's quite important to make them simple,
I think that's a very important point, and Didier, something that I noticed even on your website in your little bio, you specifically mention like the different hats that you're wearing, and I find that very interesting, and I very much appreciate it because you talk about the technical expertise, the enthusiast or aficionado side, where I know you are first and foremost a passionate aficionado yourself at heart, and you also call yourself a humanist. Can you explain a little bit how those different hats affect
Yes.
your thinking, your work, and probably even your personal enjoyment of cigars?
No, definitely. I think science and the scientific approach is embedded in myself, because this is where I'm coming from. This is what I studied. This is how my family grew. I'm coming from a scientific family. So the scientific approach is quite important for me. At the same time, so you said scientific. What is the second cap? Is probably the commercial. Commercial.
The
yes.
second one is you're not a big fan of the commercial side. I already
No.
understand that. But
Yeah.
the second one is the enthusiast or the aficionado.
Okay, definitely, because at the end everything is done, especially in the industry of tasting and of products that are developed to, are created to deliver a certain enjoyment when they are tasted, when they are enjoyed, and when they are enjoyed. At the end, we can come with all the sciences we want, with all the marketing we want, with all the this and that concepts. What is important in life, in tasting and in life also, is life is short, and taste and colors are personal. So we need to try to find what we like, what we don't like, and focus obviously in what we like. Now I'm genuinely convinced that with a little bit of sophistication, with a little bit of curiosity, with a little bit of digging a little bit here, digging a little bit there, we will understand slightly more and slightly more and slightly more, etc. And eventually we will understand more why we like this and why we don't like that. And therefore focus on what is important for us, and what is important for you, and what is important for me might not be the same thing. So yes, this is very important to focus on that point. And then maybe the last one that you mentioned, the humanists. I also consider that quite important in my life, because the human side of things, and I don't want to touch politics, but this is borderline. But the human side of things, and the mutual respect, the equality, all those things, the quality, the human quality, and the social progress is for me important in my life. So when we have the scientific part that gives the structure, the depth, the understanding, when we have the orientation as an aficionado, knowing what we want, what we don't want, what we like, what we don't like, and at the same time, when we pay attention to the humanistic values, I think is a good mix that in a simple sentence defines who I am.
Now, Didier, the cigar industry rests upon century-old knowledge, a lot of tradition, a lot of touching, feeling, a lot of emotional experience even that have been passed down from generation to generation. And it's so hard sometimes to not only preserve that knowledge, but also to pass it on, to future generations, also to the consumer, who sometimes do not get into all the intricate little details of the manufacturing side. Not necessarily everybody wants to get into that. And as you mentioned, some people just enjoy their cigars for leisure and pleasure. But there's quite a few, and I would say all of the people who take time out of their busy Wednesday schedules to sit down and listen to both you and I, they're probably more interested in cigars than your regular Jack and Joe from down the street. But how do you manage to pull all that knowledge together? How do you manage to collect all those information and to preserve those traditions and those experiences into something tangible, into a book that people can ultimately read and enjoy?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. That's a long work, and a long work, of course. I didn't invent everything that is in the book, of course. I've been thinking about a lot of things. I created a few new concepts, yes, but mostly, first I had the basis as a general agricultural engineer. Second, I did the postgraduate studies in Cuba, where I accessed a lot of information from a lot of books, a lot of libraries, and of course some very good teachers. I've been traveling here and there in Nicaragua. This is how I first arrived in Nicaragua, when I wanted to collect information about, because in Nicaragua there's a not as long as in Cuba, but there is a very strong tradition. I of course visited Dominican Republic, where the tradition is big, and they even started the plantation of brown tobacco before Cuba. So we might say without historical mistakes that the tradition is longer in Dominican Republic, or at least the plantation, not the tradition, because of course Cuba became what it is and what we know it is, or it was. That's another debate. But so it's collecting a lot of things, and somehow it's like a barman. You know, you put some ingredients in a shaker, you shake, and then the cocktail comes out. This is somehow a book for me. This kind of book. Then you take some ingredients that are produced from somebody else, that you read, that you receive, that you hear. You create a few new ideas, and there is a lot of work, and to be frank, this is one of the things that took me a lot of time, is how to arrange this knowledge and those sections and those chapters. I mentioned earlier that I passed from 6 chapters in the first edition to 11 chapters. So I created new chapters, like for instance for conservation and aging. This is something I fell in love, and I see a few names, a few people around tonight. We had long conversations about aging, for instance. So I fell in love with that. So that's definitely a new chapter, but also some other chapters, I split them in 2. So in order to rearrange the information, I think some books I have the chance to read in my life, that were like super positively received, were books that were very well structured, simply presented with a certain logic. Now my logic might not be the logic of another one, but that was a huge effort, and the organization of the knowledge, and to bring this knowledge to maturity, that is years and years of thoughts and experience, and writing, rewriting. You see what I mean? So, and also
sorry if I interrupt you, Didier, but I'm curious on that point in particular. How hard is it to, pull it together for yourself, and like to almost force yourself into not trying to over perfectionize everything, because at some point you just need to get it out there. It's almost like launching a brand, right? You can try to make everything as perfectly as possible, but at some point you have to start.
Yes,
otherwise you will
definitely
overthink it, and you will never reach the stage of actually launching.
Definitely. So yeah, that's a very good point, and that's the point I think where every author and to be frank, the kind of writing here is semi-technical, so it's not so difficult. For novels, I think, or for other kind of writing where imagination takes much bigger part and energy. It might be much more difficult to draw the line, to say, well, it's finished, or it will never be finished, because we will never be satisfied. But at some point, we need to draw a line to say, look, we need to stop. So yeah, this is true that reaching certain points, I was completely unable to bring any added value to the text, because I wrote it the first time, and then the second time, and then the third time, and then I modified this and that, and then after we are completely burned out, and we are not able. And therefore, it's then at this time it's important to be rounded of helpful people that can bring the freshness, that can bring the criticism, the positive criticism, the negative criticism, but always constructive. And here I need to thank. They are not around the conversation today, but to thank two people, or maybe three people, two people that really helped me in this process of bringing the text and the structure of the text to maturity. So the first one is Miron Lee. So you might know him. So it's a doctor from Hong Kong, and well known among crowds of cigar collectors. So we had a lot of exchanges. I went many times to Hong Kong, and he read certain parts of the book, and he gave some amazing critical comments.
Criticism. Mm-hmm.
Criticism, yes. I was not sure if in English we say critics or criticism, but criticism. I believe
in the most
English.
Positive way.
Mm. Yes. The second person is a scientist, Canadian Chinese scientist, very good friend of me, and he has experience in making scientific complex look simple and read simply. So I asked him, and he had the time to review everything from the first page to the last page, and he helped also in this work of bringing the text to maturity in the content and in the form. And then the copy editor also. So she did a fantastic work. She helped a lot. And so those three people around me was a huge force, and of course my name is the author name, but also everywhere I try to write and to say this is a joint venture between different people. We have the artists also who draw the different drawings. On the first book it was only my sister, but now we have 6 different artists that contributed to the diversity of the different drawings, because I took the decision. That's an important thing also to highlight. The book is a reference book. It's not a short seller. It's a long seller. It's a reference book. It's a neutral book. There is no reference to any brands, unless it's for historical curiosity. For when I talk about Cuba, Dominican Republic, and Nicaragua, mm-hmm. But there is no reference to books. There is no connotation. It's completely neutral, or as neutral as I could make it, because there is also some controversies. Of course, I'm checking quickly also on the chat. I give a few look, and I have seen some people make some comments about the origin of the tradition, Connecticut, not Connecticut, Cuba, not Cuba, Dominican, whatever country, or maybe China, I don't know. Sometimes it's difficult to write, especially the historical part, and also I put at the end of the first chapter I put a text box saying, look, how difficult and how frustrating it might be to write about history, and how difficult and frustrating it might be to read about what somebody else wrote about history. Because we're talking about revolutions, we're talking about nationalizations, we talk about immigration, we talk about, you know, positive things, negative things. So sometimes it's difficult to find, to understand what was really the historical veracity of things. So basically at the end, the exercise as an author is to do with our personality, with our desire to transfer something, to transfer it the way we are, and the best we can. Of course, not perfect, but that was the objective, to share as many things in the best way possible, so the reader can bring a few new ideas in the world of cigars, and understand maybe a little bit more about what they like, what they don't like, and therefore enjoy more, become more sophisticated, and be more, because I believe in our industry, in those difficult times, the more sophisticated, in the good way, the more sophisticated, curious, strong we are, the best we are for the future. Because, you know, you taste your cigar on your terrace, but the only, you know, sometimes it's very difficult to find another place to smoke a cigar today. The legal aspects, they go up here, they go up there. The taxes, they go up here, they go up there. The restriction. So the more we are sophisticated, the more we are curious, the more we look deep, not too deep, because otherwise it becomes boring. But all those things, I'm a bit. Shooting in all senses. I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's wonderful, and I mean that's exactly what we're trying to do here as well. Every single week, we try to provide a platform in the most humble and simplistic way, but all about the people in the community, where those who appreciate the finer things in life and those who love a great cigar can come together and have an open and honest conversation with different opinions. You know, that's perfectly fine. Controversy it nurtures good conversation, I feel, as long as we respect each other and we respect that people have different opinions, but we all come around the table, light up a cigar, and have an open conversation. And great books like The Cigar from Soil to Soul, and hopefully shows like ours, and there's so many others out there that bring value, provide value. That's so important for the premium cigar community, because it's a small industry and it's a small community, and we need to jump on every opportunity and every occasion there is to become more knowledgeable, more experienced, more open towards other people's opinions, and that's just wonderful. And in particular, when it comes to books and publications, I think there just cannot be enough of great quality information and knowledge, because what else can you do apart from jumping on an airplane, flying to Honduras, Nicaragua, the Dominican, whatever, and experience firsthand what a cigar and what tobacco is all about. And I want to dive a little deeper into the tobacco and cigar side of things with you, besides the how you bring a book project to life, right? But first of all, who are the people that influenced your tobacco and cigar experience the most and helped you in bringing all the theoretical knowledge to life through the book? And then secondly, when we start at the very beginning with a blank piece of paper and the idea of consolidating the most important information about tobacco and cigars, where do you start? What's your breakdown of the basic principles that everybody needs to understand if you want to become more educated about cigars and tobacco?
Okay, so for your first part, definitely I will highlight Arsenio Ramos Mendez as one of my mentors. So he was a general expert for Minagris, for Ministerio de Agricultura in Cuba. He was based in Pinaderillo, and he used to be teacher, itinerary teacher. I forgot the name at the university. So I met him. We spent nights and nights and nights, and he's the one who brought me to Nicaragua. He said, "Look, you are writing this book. Come to Nicaragua. There's a huge culture. You know, it was in the late 1999, 2000, and after the civil war stopped. You know, you had a lot of development. The agriculture was booming. The cigar industry was about to boom also. So it was a very nice context. So definitely, he passed away in 2018. So hats down to him. But so he was probably the most influential person in my cigar approach, both in the scientific parts and also in all the other part. So one thing to highlight is that when I was in Cuba and as an agricultural engineer, I knew well the soil, the plantation, the harvests, the drying and the fermentation, and not so much about the blending, the rolling and the quality, the qualities of a cigar and the tasting. So that is definitely one person that really helped me see cigar a different way, and a deeper way. A second person that I need to highlight also is Abdel Fernandez, so AJ Fernandez. We are working together since 2006, and this is a person who has tons of knowledge and tons of talents. So all the many moments, so many moments we spent together, and also speaking days and nights, and also following him on his growth. Because my brands, if I just do a little parenthesis, my brands are very boutique brands, very small. We are, it's small brands. Now, what AJ Fernandez is in the United States of America and internationally, it's huge. It's huge. So he had a fantastic growth for several reasons. I think he's connected. He's a link to his talents. And definitely this is someone who helped a lot. There is another person, but this is not a real person. It's the many conversation. I cannot put a name, but it's the many conversation around, like I was saying earlier, around a cigar, around a rum, around anything, that makes people sit around something together and start discussing. The various meeting we had with the cigar journal gatherings, and I can, yes, and this is one example among others. But again, in the list of your guests, I see many people, many faces where we had some great exchanges, and all those little things. This is what I say. Look, this person has no name. But this is yes, it's the community. That's and this is important. This is important, and very few. I don't know. I didn't know many communities or many industries in my life. But when I'm traveling, I take out a cigar, I light a cigar, and then a few meters away, there's another person. You are straight away connected with a depth that I think is quite rare. So, and that creates some very interesting and sometimes surprisingly deep conversation, since that is a complete stranger, or she's a complete stranger.
And we all have experienced that, Didier, didn't we? When you sit down in a cigar lounge and there's people you've never met in your life, but
yes,
after sharing and enjoying a cigar together,
yes,
you'll probably end up as friends for a lifetime.
Yeah, definitely. Now your second point. Sorry, I'm replying to a very long way. But your second point, the process of presenting and the attitude when you are confronted to a white page. First, I didn't have such a white page because I was coming out of classes. I had university classes about the different aspects of the black tobacco industry, or agri industry. That is the technical term, the agri industry. So I had already a few pages written, and also my desire to write was coming from the results of buying many books in Spanish, in English, in French, in the few languages I can read and understand. And I was quite frustrated, to be frank, of the quality of those books. So I said, look, I want to do mine. So I started from a white page. I said, look, I will do a little introduction about history. Then I will go logically from soil to soul. And this logically, the name came from the soil, because the soil is super important. So let's talk about the terroir. So that was the first chapter. Then the second chapter, from the seeds to the green leaves. Then the following chapter, from the green leaf to the brown leaf, and then the following chapter, from the brown leaf to the cigar. Now in the new edition, I added a new chapter in the first, what became the first volume, which is the understanding of the blending, the concepts behind the blending, understanding the leaf, why the leaves are like this, why they are different, why they have different ages, and what are the basic concept, the classic concept behind the blending. And then for instance, the second volume right now, well, not right now, but the second volume, because in the first edition I didn't have a second volume, but the second volume is about the tasting. What are the scientific concepts behind the tasting? So this is scientific and deep and heavy. So quite boring, I would say, if you're not really interested in those topics, in the distribution of aromas, in how the different aromas are created, how they are distributed, how they are perceived, how they are decoded and associated to a feeling, etc., etc. So that's the first part, the first chapter of the second volume. Then the tasting as an aficionado. As an aficionado, we don't want to pay so much attention to the scientific concept. We would just want to go straight to the aromas, the taste, the strengths, and the this and the that, the balance, etc. Another chapter is about aging and conservation and aging. Another chapter is about the misfortune of a cigar. So it's an exhaustive list of all the problems that can happen. And another new chapter was about sensory analysis or sensory evaluation. Because when I started thinking about the different types of tasting that we can have, I realized, correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe somebody in your guests also we can interact, but I think we have three types of tasting. We have the tasting as an aficionado, which is highly subjective, and the objective is to enjoy. And again, like I say, if you want to smoke to my left ear or my right foot, okay, everybody's different. If you enjoy, and if you don't force me to do the same way than you, that's your way. So that's highly subjective, but the only objective is to enjoy. So that's the first tasting that I consider, is the tasting as an aficionado. Then we have the tasting as a professional. Professional is also highly subjective, because one professional is not another. One brand is not another brand. And we have objectives for this tasting. The objective is to develop a product. So it's not to enjoy, it's to develop a product. And we hope this product will be sold, right? Because that's the objective. So that's the second tasting, this tasting as a professional. And then I also realized late, but soon enough to put it in the book, that we have the tasting as a panel taster, as a panelist, as we say, as a jury member. And this tasting is not enough, as we all know, because it's difficult, and sometimes the structure and the business needs and necessities are there, but it's not enough objective. It should be completely objective, because the objective there is not to enjoy, not at all. Is not to develop something or to sell something. Is to generally say what we think about what we are tasting. And so therefore this tasting as this sensory, this is why I don't call it tasting, I call it sensory analysis, sensory evaluation. It needs to be, as much as we can, completely objective. That's the last chapter. So to answer your question about this white page and how I structured probably the content of and the evolution of the work, that is, I try to follow that logic.
Excellent point. Before we dive further into that, and again, I would like to encourage everybody who has a question. I see many here in the chat box. If you would like to make yourselves heard, then please speak up and raise your questions to Didier personally.
Can I ask you a question? Sorry to interrupt. Because I try to follow, but I'm not following because I'm like my wife says, I cannot multitask. So when I speak, I cannot read the thing at the same time, the chat at the same time. So are we scrolling the answers, or you are summarizing them, or do those who put
if
the
you
question?
Pick up any particular questions, Didier, and you would like to answer them right away, then please fire. I just wanted to touch on one aspect. You mentioned AJ being Abdel being influential along your journey, and you believe in Nicaragua at a very early stage where the popularity of tobacco and cigars out of Nicaragua probably wasn't at the level where it is today. What made you believe? And why did you specifically choose that terroir, and in particular Abdel, to support you for the creation of your own brands like La Ley, Nicaragua, La Preferida?
Okay, it's very good question. Again, long but easy answer, because it was very clear. I arrived in Nicaragua in 1999, 2000. I started working with Abdel in 2006, so a few years after. So in between, I started working with somebody else, and including Arsenio Ramos Mendez, who I mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. So I arrived in Nicaragua. I didn't want to create any brand. I just wanted to collect some information for the book. But then I changed my mind for several reasons. First, because I knew Arsenio, and he was starting working there. So I knew the quality. I knew I was in good hands, and he would do quality. So that was one first element. Second element, I discovered Nicaragua. Nicaragua is the biggest country in Central America. Mexico being bigger in size, but considered politically North America. So Nicaragua is a huge country with a huge diversity of soils, a huge diversity of geologies, of soils, of microclimates, and so there was a huge potential. At the time when I arrived in the year 2000, I don't remember exactly, but I think the production was 3 to 5 million cigars, long filler cigars for export. So that was nearly nothing. And of course, not at all what it is today. Today is for the figure I read recently, and I believe it's true, is the #1 exporter in long filler export cigars for export, and also the #1 of exports of raw material. And we know that Nicaragua is sending leaves to all the other cigar producing countries. You see?
Somebody ordering the book, Didier. You better pick
No, it's my cousin, because tomorrow I go to Italy. Yes. So for those, and then the last reason. So first reason, the context, the human context that I knew was good. Second, the agricultural context and geological context, which is part of what you mentioned, terroir. So it's part of the terroir. Third is that Nicaragua, as you all probably know, that was coming out slowly from a very painful civil war. So of course the war stopped much earlier, but we were still some issues, and at the time Nicaragua wanted to go forward and to forget about the civil war, to forget about the bloodsheds and the families being broken and all that, and they wanted. There was a feeling I had. They wanted to look forward and to reconstruct the country. So those few elements made me look. I want to do something, and very early on, I picked the name Nicaragua. The name Nicaragua comes from Nicaragua. I picked very colors that were not used at the time. So a dark green. So I wanted because some people say this is Cuban seed. This is they play on the ambiguity with Cubano seed, this with Habano that, or I didn't want to do that. I said, look, we are 100% Nica. We play the game, even if it was much earlier, much before the cigar boom in Nicaragua. But that was the atmosphere.
Excellent. Franca, it's wonderful to have you with us. What a beautiful scenery. What a relaxed setting. I know you're probably super happy in Italy, enjoying your cigar. And kudos to you. Didier specifically mentioned the panel sensory evaluation, and you and your platform, Cigar Sense, have done an incredible job on that for years and years. So congratulations and thank you for that. And I'm sure you have a question for Didier. Welcome.
Thank you, dear Reinhard. I don't join as often as I would love to. Sorry about that. Hello, dear Didier.
Hello.
And hello, everyone. Nice to see you again. So I have my books actually here.
Yes, fantastic. Because I'm very happy you show them, because somebody I saw in the list of questions, please show one so you can.
So I must tell you, first of all, congratulations, of course.
Thank you.
Huge body of work. I did not have the time to read them all yet, but of course you can imagine the part that I have already read.
Yes.
The last chapter. And I really love the way you differentiate the three types of evaluations. And I have a question regarding to the second and the third. So you were saying that, can you hear me well?
Yes, very well.
Okay, because my network has not been very good today. So you say that, okay, the first one is the leisure tasting, of course. Great, important. Then the second one is the one that are specifically done for commercial purposes, even by panels, but for putting on the market the products, and it can be done in the factory, can be done by the marketing teams. Correct me, please, if I misunderstood.
Yes. No, that's correct. This is what I was saying.
Okay. And then the last one is the one of external panels, basically, right? Mm-hmm. So to what extent do you think that these last two types of evaluations could be combined so that people could work together to help the other group reaching the goals that they need to reach?
That's a good question. That's a good question, and I understand where it comes from. But that would be that. I think that would be great, but it's not. I don't think I didn't participate to thousands of cigar development for other brands and other companies, other producer and all this. But I think it's commercially we have two ways to develop a cigar. First, you have a strong idea, and then you want to reach that idea, and then reach or translate that idea into a cigar, into a blend. And this is quite subjective, because generally talking, we have a strong idea. We know in what box it will come. We know with what name it will come. With what color. With what this, what that. So it's full of strong concepts. Also, you have all the diversity of blenders, I would say, or cigar creation. First, like me, for instance, is very, I wouldn't say poetic, but nearly, because it's small scale, it's boutique. But then on the other extreme of the spectrum, and not one is better than the other, it's just that is quite different. You have companies with huge teams, with CEOs, with shareholders. Sometimes they are listed, so they don't have that freedom, and they reply to the P&L and to the quarterly results. So it's not poetic at all. So there's a lot of things together there in the product development, and of course that would be nice to be backed by something that is quite objective. But then the blenders are the blender, and this is why some people call them master blender, because they are masters. So how can you teach a lesson to a master if he claims he's a master, or she claims she's a master? So there's a lot of this combination of different things there. But yes, an objective perception, an objective analysis is good. Then after the businessman is taking it into account or not, that's another kind of decision, I would say. But I think it's quite difficult to bring full objectivity in a commercial development of a cigar or any other product.
I agree. Well, I agree based on what I know is the mainstream model as you described it. Yes. And actually, to expand a little bit on that, I want to congratulate you. I need to applaud for the fact that you are the first person in the cigar industry who writes a book and gives justice to sensory analysis, because it's a term that is highly misused. I guess that you confronted yourself with this, and probably that's why you expanded on it. So I really thank you so much, because it is a method that needs to be better understood. And so thank you very much for that contribution.
Yes. No, thank you for your nice word, Franca. I really appreciate that. And I put it there because I thought it was important to be there, and also because I realized that at the end we taste whatever we taste. Oh yes, please. I'm proposed another glass of white wine, so I said yes.
Oh wow, that's great.
And also I realized, even myself, of course, I'm the first one. How many biases we have for everything in life, So when we do the little effort once in a while, not too often, once in a while, we do the little effort to try to get rid of our biases. Oh, this is an expensive cigar, then it's probably very good. Oh, this is a beautiful band, so most probably the cigar is great. Oh, I bought it in this shop, so this most probably this is a great cigar. Oh, this cigar is coming from this island or this continent or that. Oh, so probably it's a fantastic cigar. All those are biases. Some biases they are not there for nothing. Sometimes it's true, but not all the time. So we need to recognize those biases, and when in some of our tasting we pay attention to try to smoke as much as, or to taste. I don't like the term smoking. We smoke a cigarette. We taste a cigar. So as much as we can try to taste sometimes some cigars, trying to get rid of the biases. I think we can learn a lot. And I'm saying that, and I wrote that. Why? Because I learned so much through that.
Yeah.
So yeah. So thanks for your nice word.
Yes.
Yeah,
No, sorry. I if I may just finish just one thing. Sorry, Reinhard. So, and I think what you said is important because it really helps us not only enjoy the cigars much better, but be fair to our freedom of choice, being more independent in our choice, in our purchasing choices. So it's all about learning how to better choose our cigars, and so hence, therefore, have better, more pleasure from them.
Yes, exactly. I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks,
Many thanks,
thanks,
Franca. Wonderful comments and wonderful contribution there. And on the point of origin and terroir, Didier, I wanted to follow up with a very interesting and wonderful question from Wim, who is joining us here today at the lounge, and I'm very grateful to have him with us. His question was, when tobacco growing is concentrated to a relatively small part of the world, aren't there or isn't there an abundance of terroirs to be discovered yet? He in particular mentioned
China.
things grown in Sweden, for instance. I know our dear contributing editor, Macy Hansen, has wet dreams of his Colombian bureau, and he'll probably tell you about that in a brief second when he comes up with his questions.
Yes.
But maybe you can explore a little bit about that and how you see that. And if I may add just an extra layer to that, we see that currently a lot of things in all kinds of industries are under tremendous duress when it comes to supply and demand, and also the cigar industry is facing shortages with the steady uprise in numbers of consumption and importation into the US. There might be challenges to keep everybody fed just by the traditional origins. Do you think that is going to create more demand for other growing areas that haven't been explored to such an extent yet?
Look, definitely, yes. So that's a long question, also very interesting, long question. Yes. One debate we have for the last 15 years is will China find some great regions in their country for growing premium brown tobacco leaves? Yes, most probably yes. Some people will say no. Some people will say yes. Now we need to see. But seeing the extent of their regions and the diversity of their regions and their climates and their soils, I think yes. I visited a few times Hainan Island, where they grow. They say this is Cuba from China. Yes, so yes, there is potential. You mentioned Sweden. In all Europe, in the whole world, there is a lot of places. There are a lot of places where tobacco was planted. Now the specificity of the tobacco is quite different. It was mostly used for pipe growing, for dry cigarillos and products like this. So also we need to look at the product, what kind of product we want to do, and we come back to the second chapter, which is the terroir. The terroir is of course the place, is the direction of the wind, the temperature of the wind, the humidity of the wind, is all that. But also we need to know with what species we are playing, or what cultivar, what is the genetic of the leaves of the plant, and thirdly and the most important thing is the man. He or she needs to bring everything together and to give the right treatments to put the plant in the right condition to give the results she or he's expecting. So generally talking, we say that tobacco needs to be harvested in subtropical areas, not too humid, not too dry, so in between. So that limits to certain latitudes, and this is why we say in Central America or Mesoamerica. So from the middle south or south of the US to north of South America. The same stretch in Africa, if we extend both lines, and then in Asia, and maybe potentially those are the regions where it can be grown. No, I'm not. I didn't study that so much, but yes, it's done. But for today, to answer the second part, another part of your question, it's for premium premium cigars so premium so black tobacco, brown tobacco for the production of premium cigars. It's in these days, in today it's quite limited, and technically I think it could be increased. Yes, where I don't know, but where will it come from? There are some great leaves coming from Peru, from as south as Peru. We are talking cigars, huh? Because if we talk cigarettes and pipe tobacco is very different. It's very different, and I'm not an expert in that.
Important distinction, certainly. Right, welcome.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
Hello, Reinhard.
Didier, we finally have you back here. This is unbelievable. I'm so happy.
Thank you.
For those that don't know, Didier has a very, very, very big place in my heart. One of the first people that took me under his wing and got me and introduced me to this beautiful industry is Didier. At a time where nobody was giving us the time of the day, Didier invited us, Didier guided us, Didier really, he was talking about mentorship, and I think he was, remains, and will always be one of my key mentors in the industry. And for that, I want to take this opportunity to really thank you, Didier, for everything that you would claim that you have not done, but you have done a lot. And honestly, thank you so much for that.
Thanks, right. It goes to my heart, and that belongs to the when Heini was doing the introduction. He highlighted the fact that in the bio I wanted to put the humanistic part, humane, the humane thing. So yes, we didn't know each other, and you came to Nicaragua. We had some great times. We didn't know where your story would where your journey that you were starting would lead you and lead us.
Correct.
So that's nice. Thank you for the energy. And we've been discussing a lot about karma together, right?
Correct.
And this is about karma. I strongly believe in karma. So life is tough, yes, sometimes. There are some pretty bad people around. Yes, this is right. But as much as we can, we need to try to be positive and constructive. And even when we don't know people,
The man of magical words, it never changes. Okay, so here's my question.
Oh, you have a question? I thought you only wanted to say that.
No.
No, he will come. He was throwing the flowers. Now, where
now that we finished throwing flowers at it, let's. Reinhard is not going to forgive me if I don't pose a question. So your book, I love. I think I've been through it twice so far, and I'm about to take it with me to Spain to do my third. Amazing work, but if there's, I don't think anything negative in it, but in my personal self-centered approach to this, it took you away a bit from blending those amazing cigars. And you know how much I love and continuously smoke your cigars. Now, you might be hiding some stuff from us. So 2 questions. When are you releasing?
Is there a third edition?
No. When are you releasing your next cigar? You've taken a long break from blending and coming up with unbelievable cigars. So that's the first question. And 2, writing books is addictive. With this book that you came up with, that in my humble opinion and limited experience is so comprehensive, what would be next?
Okay. Good questions. First question.
I know.
No. First question. First, before I answer your question, I wanted to mention something when Franca was also saying, like you, that you guys been reading, and it goes also a little bit into the direction of what Rainy was saying earlier. I wrote this book also trying to disconnect every chapter, one from the others. And if you are only interested by history, it needs to be, well, history is not a good example, but if you are only interested by something, by some part of the process, you just go to this chapter and you read that chapter. And you don't need, of course, it's not a novel, so you should not start from page 0 or from page 1 and by the last one. That will be completely disgusting reading, because it would be completely boring. But is to say, look, you are interested in conservation. Oh, okay, you go to the second volume, you go to the chapter talking about this, and then you read, you go through it, and then you, okay, it's independent from the other chapter, so you don't need to read the other chapter to reach this one to be for this chapter to be understandable. But if you go through this chapter, you will maybe eventually realize that if you want to go deeper into the understanding of this one deeper, you might want to read a little bit of the other chapters. So I was trying to get excuse me, to create a map of knowledge. So you start with your point of your focal point, which is your interest, and then slowly you reach here and there from a few pages from the other chapters, and then you consolidate slowly your way all the knowledge together. So the chapters are disconnected but interrelated. So that was something also I tried to do, which was not easy, but I hope and think I say always we, because it's teamwork, but I hope I did it well. So that was something I wanted to say. So your two questions. Next, you know, as we already discussed it several times, the last few years were quite specific, and I focused all my strengths on if we talk a little bit of the commercial side, the cigar sales. I wanted to focus all my strength, my energy, the financial strengths that we have. We are a very small company, so we don't have everything we want. But I focused everything on the classic cigars, because I wanted to protect our distributors, I wanted to protect our retailers, and I wanted to protect our aficionados. And this is how we went through those years, and especially last year. This year, it becomes a bit challenging, but we went through all those crises, or this crisis, without any stock issues, and I was quite proud of that. And I could reach this level of service, I would say, in difficult times, because I stopped the novelties, the development of any new things. But as you know, also 2022, we'll see some new cigars coming. So definitely this year something will come out. Yes, something will come out. So that's for the first point. The second point, yes, what's coming next. Look, you are completely right saying this. The process of writing is addictive. I remember in 2005 for the French edition, with this publishing house, I was so frustrated in the last weeks, month. It was the last 10% of such a work takes probably 90% of your time. So that's at a certain point we come back to what we were saying earlier, the line, when do we stop? It's very difficult to say. It's very difficult to take that decision. So I was very frustrated, but as long as I didn't have that frustration anymore, and I was missing it. I was missing the manuscript and the arguments. This is good, this is not good, we need to improve this, we need to, So yes, this is addictive. But this one, I suffered quite a lot during the finalization of this second edition. And I really took all the time. I wanted to publish it much earlier, but then I had this idea, then I had this comment, oh yeah, that makes sense, I will do this, I will do that. And I tried to put not as many things as I wanted, because you might not believe it, but I removed a lot of content to reach those 2 volumes. So I wanted to put much more, but then people told me, like, you will lose your reader. Come on, it's not possible. So I did simplify, but I think I don't know. I need to wait, but I wanted to do this second edition for the long term, both in the content and also in the form. In the form with the new drawings. So I don't think. maybe in 15 years we have this conversation again. So far. I don't think there is enough substance to add. With my vision today of the, I don't think there is any substance. I mean a credible substance to add that would justify a third. I sound like an arrogant bastard now. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah. And to be frank, it was quite painful. The finalization, because you have the writing, then you have so putting the ideas, arranging the ideas, then you have the copy editing, which was a huge work. And we did it like twice, completely reshuffle everything and redo everything. So the copy editing is a big work. Then you have to put the text into the layout. You have the finalization, the production finalization of all the drawings, because obviously the drawings need to go into at the right page, so it makes sense with the text. Then you have the conversation with the printer. The definition of the paper, the definition of the ink, the covers, the slipcase, all that. So I completely underestimated all this sequence of things, because I didn't do it correctly in 2008. Oh, it was not done. It was done by somebody else I paid for, but it was not done correctly. So I didn't do it myself. So I had no idea how difficult the printed press is today. Always has been, but how difficult it is. And also, I put this little website for the sales, for the international sales, and also this is some work, and you have so many years. So it was of course challenging. It was of course exciting, and I did it with great heart. So I wanted to do it positively. But in the other way, it was also quite daunting and difficult and frustrating for certain elements. It's a school of life, It's the yin and the yang, the black and the white. But at the end, when I receive the comments that I have, and I'm quite happy of the job done. Even though and this is a disclaimer I want to give. Another disclaimer, but I did my best. I know there are some mistakes. I know I could do certain things much better. Yes, I know that. But again, I needed to draw the line and to take the decision to proceed. And also, I don't think I hold the truth. So we are all different. It's just a brick to contribute, modest contribution to the cigar community, and I don't want people to believe that everything that is written is the truth, because I don't think it is. I think I made some mistakes because I'm a human being, but at least what I want to do is to generate some new thoughts, some new ideas, and that somebody, maybe I'm not the one. I don't think I'm the one making the third edition, but maybe somebody will take some part of the book and bringing it further, like I did for other people.
Let me tell you something. Didier
Houvenaghel, this one is there also.
Any mistake ever. Didier never makes a mistake. Didier, why are you putting in a disclaimer when you've never made a mistake in your life, man?
If you are the one saying that, I don't believe it at all.
Let me tell you guys, this guy knows more about tobacco than everybody in the industry put together. He studied in Cuba. He understands everything from the bottom up. Didier is the king of the kings, bro. And I miss you very much.
Yes. I'm not so far. I'm in Belgium right now.
So you come over. I'm in Brussels, man.
Yeah. Guys, does it sound like an invitation?
C'est une invitation ouverte.
Okay. That's dangerous. Prepare your one cellar.
You have no idea. It's open for you. Listen, I just wanted to congratulate you and show you my respect, Didier.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
All right, brother.
Well, Didier, there you go. And especially when you talk about tradition. You mentioned that with the cigars earlier, and that you stick to your core portfolio. I think that's very important. And then when you talk about tobacco history, I mean, there you go. It won't get any more traditional and historical than with the Eagle, Jeremiah Maripol.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's nice to hear all that, because of course, you know, you go through the phases of doubts, and is it really right? Or is it right to write it like this, or is it really correct? Or and because it's a long work, and working many hours, so of course you go through those. It's like in life again. And then you have the people who brings criticism to your work, and at first it destroys you, but then you start thinking, is it? But they're right, and then you start again. But that's quite it's consuming a lot of energy. So that's that's and you know also that you know I started this imprimeur sales. A few of the guys around also contributed to that. So I thank you so much, all those who did, and I didn't make any promotion, because as you guys know, I'm quite shy also, so I didn't want to promote this, but I did it because I like the idea, like in the wine industry, and it was quite helpful. And then I closed the imprimeur sales in December. Then we had some issues, so it was a bit delayed, and then I was feeling a bit bad of, you know, some people already purchased the book last June, but were delivered the book only in March. So and then everything was stabilized, and I started the sales again the sales of the book again in April.
You made it happen. That's the only thing that's important, and people enjoy it. I think the feedback regarding the book is really tremendous. So well done there. And for you being shy, you know, you just battled through an hour 15's worth of Lightemup live, so you're doing well.
Yes, but I will not mention the record of the Zoom that we did with some of the characters that you have as guests tonight too. I think we did like a 5-hour cigar conversation during the COVID lockdown, which is like,
oh yes.
But we have 2 questions there, right?
Didier, there was a brief follow-up question from Ride, so he wanted to chime in, and then let's give Macy the microphone.
Thank you so much. I'll make it really quick. Didier, I love the hidden messages you typically have in everything you do. Can you talk to us about the bamboo cover of the special edition? I'm very curious.
So the bamboo cover is a sign for 2 reasons. First for the person who helped me quite a lot in some aspects of the book, which is Miron Lee. Miron Lee, as some of you know, he's working on a second edition. He's the one who wrote the post-revolutionary Encyclopedia of Cuban Cigars, the white book on cigar, which is one of the Bibles around on cigars. And he's working to the second edition of his book, and he's doing a masterpiece, a real masterpiece. But this is not at all comparable to my book. It has like he's changing the form now, but he has like 6 volumes. It's there is no word to define. It's just amazing, and the whole thing comes in a huge humidor on a stand, done in bamboo. So we've been discussing that, and this is something also I wanted to, because this is a great idea. This is a great wood. This is a fantastic wood. This is one of the most durable wood. This is a wood also that has an Asian connotation. And as some of you might know, I'm living in Asia for 15 years now. So it was very nice. Also a connotation to and sign to my Asian culture, I would say, because since I live in Asia, I evolved quite a lot, thanks to to certain parts of Buddhism, to traveling in the area and knowing better the whole, not the whole, but some parts of Asia. So that's the second point. And also thanks to Mirondi, I discovered a fantastic printer. So the printer of the book is located in South China, in Shenzhen, just next to Hong Kong. And I'm deeply European, so I wanted to work. And in Europe, we have a long tradition of printing also. But I visited this printing house, this printer, and I literally fell in love for the quality of what they're doing, for how they redistribute to culture. So I visited them in 2018. I saw the quality they're doing. I saw the library they have of very old books. I saw in their building they dedicate one whole floor for young Chinese artists to come for free and to do exhibition. Well, the whole thing was just nice. The contact with the team also was just nice. I say, okay, I will not look forward, and I will not investigate any other printer. I want to work with you. And also, they are world leader in museum books and books for photography. So they do have indeed super high quality standards. And I say, okay, I'm working. I would like to please work with you. So that's a little story. And also when I visited them, they had those bamboo options. So it was also for those three factors. Boom, they came together.
Bravo, thank you.
Thanks for the follow-up, Brad. Macy, over to you. And for all those who haven't checked out, Macy wrote a beautiful article about what is a vintage cigar.
I plagiarized it.
No.
I wrote it. I wrote it.
It's all good. And we'll post a link for everybody. Beautiful article with great insights from industry icons, Claudius Groy, Michael Herklotz, Paul Gamerian. So check that out on the Lightemup World blog section. And Messi, fire away with your questions. Now keep it short and sweet.
I will. I don't know about sweet. I'll keep it. No, both. Everyone go lightemup.world.com to the blog, read the articles there. They're very good. I am a cigar book collector. I've not read your I've not read your book. So let me be the kid in class to admit I didn't do my home. I've not read the book. That's going to change as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Quite frankly, I didn't know about the book. So thank you, Reinhard. I thought I tracked these things pretty well, and apparently not. But two of my favorite books, if I can just brag and do show and tell, is Paul Garmirian's Gourmet Guide to Cigars. Great book, beautiful, and I've got some reading, leads to some, and I've got, this is out of print, my first edition of Lou Rothman's Cigar Almanac, which so one of my questions actually is, other than yours, other cigar books, especially if they're in English in particular, that you would recommend. So if I forget to ask it, but a couple of things have come to mind in this conversation. One is, I don't know if you can see this. This is a list from Paul Garmirian's book, 1991, I believe, first published. And it goes through the major, I'll just tell you what's important. It goes through all the major non-Cuban producers. He goes through the Cubans as well, and he lists where they're produced. And what's amazing is out of this entire 2 pages of list, little text, the only producer in Nicaragua was Olla de Nicaragua.
Yes, that's the first one.
Unbelievable. It's Macanudos in Jamaica, lots of Canary Islands, Dominican Republic just dominates, Belinda's in Honduras, Punches in Honduras, Olla de Monterrey is in Honduras.
This is, sorry to interrupt, this situation is from what date roughly? It's probably, if we hold Nicaragua, was
1991.
Yes, I would have said that, yeah.
So yes. It just, the fact that you went to Nicaragua, so one of my questions is, like, what happened? I mean, did people just start like, oh yeah, this tobacco is really good, we should start growing more of it, maybe we should go more fat, like, does just someone have to go first and then everyone follows?
Yes. But that's a good question also. I was saying earlier that the history of cigars is full of pirates, is full of filibustery, is full of revolutions, immigrations, nationalization, etc. So one very important date that changed the face of cigar industry is the Cuban Revolution, the Castilian Revolution in 1959 in Cuba, because after a few years they started to nationalize. They started certain industries. They started some quite intense and different phases of agrarian reforms. And some people disagreed with this because nationalization was like basically removing.
No, let's call it what it is. It's theft of private property.
Exactly. That's a debatable point in some aspects. In others, it's clearly that, but not always. But the fact is that many immigrated. Many producers immigrated, and for what I understood is that mostly the manufacturers went to Dominican Republic, and some of the growers went to Central America, to Nicaragua and Honduras. And because there were some tradition, some presence, and some fame from there. That explains probably what was the situation 15 years back. 20 years back, 25 years back, I don't know exactly. The fact that the Dominican Republic was producing a huge amount of cigars, became number one very quickly in quantity of cigars exported. And one of the criticisms that I heard a lot is like, yes, the cigars are perfect, but they are lacking a little bit of character. In Nicaragua and in Honduras, I would say it was quite the opposite. So the cigars had a lot of characters, but they were quite lacking the physical perfection or the physical quality. And both increased on their own side. But another thing that happened in Nicaragua is that in 1979 there was the Sandinista revolution, and they also did some nationalization and some agrarian reforms.
And an American embargo that people don't often know about.
Yes, that came a few years after. Yes,
you get the Honduran Olla de Nicaraguas, I think, because of that.
Oh, this I don't know. But
yeah, I know some period of time, Olla de Nicaragua produced in Honduras, so they could still import.
Yeah, probably. It was probably tough for them, and this is why Honduras became more famous, way faster than Nicaragua, and Honduras could surf on the wave of the first cigar boom in the US. In the 90s, because in the 90s it was way too early for Nicaragua because they were still in the civil war, with no ways to develop any industry. So this is why Nicaragua was not present on the map of cigars in the 90s, and they just came back in the 2000. And since the 2000, we have the growth that we know they had. And this is how probably I'm trying to reply to your question. Why Nicaragua was such not on the map in the late 90s? Yes. Did I answer your question?
Oh, you did. Absolutely, you answered it well. Do you have any idea how some, the Oliva the growers, but do you know how some folks were they lucky? Did some folks have inside knowledge that the soil? Do you have any idea why some families went to Central America when just about everyone?
Yes, the Oliva, for instance.
There were cigars produced in Jamaica.
For instance, yes, definitely. The Jamaican history, I don't know, but the Oliva family definitely with Gilberto father, and then Gilberto, Carlos, and what's the third one? Gilberto, Carlos, and for me, guys.
I don't think the third has his own cigar yet, so we don't know.
Whatever. But
it's like the third tenor. No one knows the third tenor.
Damn, I have it on whatever. So they came from Cuba. They went to Nicaragua. After they went to Honduras. After they came back to Nicaragua, and those guys, yes, were definitely they knew what they were doing, and because we know the quality of the cigars that they've been doing. So this is great, and they've been suffering quite a lot from the political context and frustrations and losses and the necessity to build and rebuild and rebuild the estates and the production. So this is a beautiful story, but I think a very frustrated and difficult story for them. But when you look it from outside, this is a lesson of courage and determination, and definitely understanding of the terroir, because this is what we're talking about. They didn't go to any other country. They just believed that Nicaragua had the potential, so they went there, and then after they went to Honduras, and then after when stability came back, they came back to Nicaragua.
Real quick, I'm sorry, guys, and I'm going to be quick, but this has just been killing me. I want to know, and I believe you are a great source to answer this question. I have always wanted growers. People in the industry, they always talk about, oh, we're growing wrapper over here. We're planting wrapper tobacco in this zone. My question is, how does any grower, farmer, whoever, farm owner, manager, whoever owns the crop, how does anyone making that decision know whether they're going to ultimately yield wrapper crop, binder crop, filler? Because first of all, it seems to me like that's subjective. If you just want to use shitty tobacco as wrapper, you can do it. Like anything can be wrapper. Yes. That, and I've had some cigars. I'm like, why the hell is this wrapper on? Like, this sucks. But so, I mean, not to be smart, like anything, like wrapper can be filler if it's on the inside, right? Like, so how does that happen? I mean, what I'm trying to figure out is, like, are there certain conditions where we think most of the plant, this will yield more wrapper, we're going to get some of each, but can you explain to me, because I'm confused when people say, oh, we're growing wrapper over here, we're doing this. Like, how do you know what you're going to get before you harvest it?
We're coming back to the basics about terroir. So the land and the context of the land, the variety that they're growing, and the expertise of the guy the person who are growing the crops. And I agree with you. It's extremely difficult because sometimes you see cigars and you look at the wrapper, you see, look, this is not a wrapper at all. And sometimes when you open a cigar or you unwrap a cigar, you see the binder, you say, wow, that could be a wrapper, because it's so nice. Or that could be a wrapper. Sometimes some people's wrapper are worse than some other people's binders. So yeah, that's absolutely subjective again, because some know what they do, some others know slightly less what they do. Some want to do quality at all costs, and they have the discipline to say, look, I don't have the right wrapper, I will not produce the cigar because this is my standard. And some others, they don't care, they just want to they look for the figures. So that's quite difficult because everybody's different. Now there is a logic to work with a certain cultivar, with certain varieties, as we call them, here or there, because we believe they strive better here or there to do a ligero, to do a wrapper, to do this or that. So and at the end, this is so subjective and so interconnected with nature that everybody has his or her own secrets. It's like the blending.
Didier, if I may chime in there for a second, and it's a pity that Jeremiah is not here to answer the question from his perspective. But I think we need to look at it from two different angles. One is on behalf of the growers, who probably always try to maximize the yield of wrapper because it's the most precious tobacco and the most expensive. So you're trying to optimize your yield of wrapper because that's what's going to give you the biggest return. But the second angle is the one of the blender, who is looking for a certain equilibrium in the overall composition of his blend, and there you're looking for aroma and certain attributes in terms of taste that you ultimately want to achieve with your blend. So I think that's two different sides of the equation, and both have different objectives and things to reach.
Yes. That's a good way to set the landscape. The grower, I would say, works with the leaves that he or she, but generally talking is a he, he or she has, what is the availability? And this is, there's an aspect that we forget, is planification, because to do one small batch of cigar, one blend, or a cigar that will be sold for a few years, is a different thing, and we need to know what we are blending with, because if you are successful with the cigar, you don't want all over a sudden start changing the blend. So the blender, generally talking, blends with what's available and what's available for the specific project. Now the grower, and sometimes, which is beautiful in some countries where you have what we call the vertical integration, is that the grower might be the blender also, because it's the same company, it's the same person. For instance, in the case of AJ Fernandez, and you have several similar cases. He's behind everything, and that helps, because he has a vision on every step. That's one of the positive things associated to that situation. The quality and the discipline is quite important. When you were saying what you were saying, yes, sometimes some people take the decision, look, I don't have the quality, so I will not go forward with this project, or I will need to stop that project because I just cannot. Or I have a similar quality, but it will change the blend, so we need to take a decision here. So yes, this happens. We were over the 20 years of experience, yes, we were confronted with this kind of frustrating situation, because you have people calling you, hey, where are you with this? And no, sorry, we just cannot. We took the decision that we don't want to proceed because we think, for instance, the fermentation or the aging needs another 6 months. Or we don't have the quality for enough leaves this year for producing that batch. So this sometimes is quite tricky. It's quite tricky and difficult, and it requires like long-term thinking and discipline to implement some decisions.
Yeah, we have a very brief question from Ian, and then I would like to follow up just very briefly on one of the aspects of Mace's article before we wrap things up.
Because
Ian,
we have our friend, it's Oleg.
Hi, Didier. Question is, with your knowledge about tobacco, are there things that the industry should be doing, do you think they're not doing, and what should they be concentrating on to produce better product?
Oh, that's it. Thanks. Thank you very much. That's a very deep question. I never thought about this. That's definitely a chapter in the 3rd edition. Top of my head, yes, transparency. Transparency about the real transparency, not marketing transparency. Real transparency about how things are produced, about the blending, about the blends. Less poor marketing, less poor marketing, and more transparency. Again, I think we are in the age. I think the cigar industry is very traditional and quite old. When we see the evolution, the globalization, the access to information, there's a lot of people. You cannot hide things from people anymore, because if you go to researcher online and you go to you search on, not on Google because it's oriented, but you go on DuckDuckGo, which is an important search engine, or any other important search engine, independent search engine. You look a little bit around, and then you can have access to a lot of information. Blend is still considered like the secret, like the formula. On top of my head, I'm thinking out loudly to your good question. I think transparency should be maybe put forward. What else? I was
thinking sort of technically, are there things that you think the industry isn't doing as well, or are there different things they should be doing? Because you know a lot about the production of tobacco and the chemical reactions and
yes.
so on. Are there things there that they're not doing that perhaps they might do, or that they could do better?
In terms of pure process?
Yes.
But this is impossible to reply. I'm sorry. because for instance, I know two countries, which is Cuba and Nicaragua, and obviously they are quite different in terms of structure of production. In Cuba, everything is nationalized. Is one owner, which is the government, and then you work with a lot of different layers, and there is no connection between the layers. So sometimes people do things they have no idea why, and then after sometimes they don't do it anymore, even if it's quite essential for the next layers, because there is no transparency, there is no connection. So that's one limitation, for instance, of the system. And again, for every system, there are positive points and negative points. The good point, for instance, of what I know in Nicaragua is this vertical integration. So we need to prepare the soil like this because it has an influence, I don't know, on the tasting, on the way cigar burns. For instance, that's a very quick. That's not a good example, but that's an example. Or if I take the case of Nicaragua, you have many different companies that have different process. The big steps are there because we need to respect them. But after every single, and this is also the beauty of it, is that every single producer, they have their own little secret, and they believe that those little secrets they end up in a better cigar and a more enjoyable cigar. So this is quite difficult to say. Your question is very good, but as a generic answer is impossible to give. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Many thanks, Ian. Oleg, over to you for a quick question. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, my brother Reinhard, and hello, dear Didier. You told about the classic taste of cigars. I actually try to find the classic taste, because if we take cigars, style of cigars from the beginning of 20th century or the beginning of 21st century, it's very different. And for example, for now, for me, it's a problem, because if we take a cigar and cut it for 3 thirds, the first 2/3 will be amazing, but the last third will be you can chew it in some points. But I think it was a style of on the beginning of the 20s, because you need to sell more cigars, and that's why Zino Davidov provide the like a style, don't smoke under the band, don't take it and just chew it. But now I taste a lot of cigars because I love the last third, and even I use a special
yes, like Ian.
yes, and I finish till my teeth and till my mustache. So,
yes.
so what do you think about the trend for now? It's back to the 20s. We need to sell more, or it means that we have not enough good tobacco, or another reason.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, thanks, Oleg. Thanks, Oleg, for this huge question, because you are touching different aspects. First, I think there is not a classic taste to cigar, because all cigars are made differently. Well, they're made similarly, but they are all different in essence. So I don't think there is a classic taste. Now there are huge evolution in history, and I realized this when I was doing in one page of the book. There is all the Cuban cigar, premium cigar exports, year by year since the 18 something until 2001, and if we see the peak of production was like 350 million cigars exported from Cuba in 1835 or something like this, if I will remember. So I was like, how can this be possible? And then I realized that most probably what they were calling cigars back in these days is probably not what we are calling cigars today. Maybe that's an explanation. And you are completely right to say that there is an evolution. There is an evolution. There are trends. The 3/3 is traditional. It's a very nice concept. It's very easy to explain. It's very easy to understand. To that aspect, I think is useful. But I don't believe in the 3/3. I think there is a continuum of an evolution, a progression in the cigar tasting that is constant, that is linear, that is not in three steps, unless there is a problem in the rolling, in a normal cigar. So I think it's more linear. It's more like it's not linear because 3 steps can be linear also. It can be in one line, but it's not by big section, because I don't understand why after the first third there is a huge change. Those changes, for me, they don't come by steps. They come progressively. And of course, there is the classic evolution in a cigar. At the end, also, it depends on the type of cigar, on how you taste the cigar, where you taste the cigar, and how you like it. Because you just said that you are the opposite of Zino Davidov, because you said you like the last third, and that Zino Davidov didn't like the last third, or he was suggesting not to smoke this one. So we are all different. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. One thing that is a fact is that a cigar is becoming more robust with the evolution, with its evolution. Because when we taste a cigar, when there is a combustion, there is what is getting burned. The products of the combustion is the smoke, right? The smoke and the ash.
Yes.
So the smoke, some part of the smoke, they go straight into the atmosphere. Some part of the smoke, they are filtrated in the body of the cigar, and they come out, and this is what we taste. When we advance in a tasting, so along the body we have some deposition, like physical particles and some gases, and that makes, when we arrive again there, when we burn this one, those are it's an aromaticity that becomes much more robust, much stronger. And that for me, scientifically, this is what makes the evolution of the tasting always quite continuous. And for instance, something I like to do is when we purge the cigar. So we light the cigar and we expel those gases, and we can clearly see that something is coming out. So this is something to refresh your cigar, to reduce this robustness that comes in with the filtration the deposition and the reburning of those aromas. So, but again,
I think this is a very important aspect that you mentioned in your book, and I can highly recommend everybody checking out this particular chapter in Didier's book about the different aromaticities and how aromas and certain taste sensations are delivered through the savoring and the experience of the cigar, and I applaud you for focusing on that, because I think we sometimes do not focus enough on those intricate processes that happen during
at the end also again, like I was saying earlier, it's a theoretical view of things. I think it makes sense. I think it's scientific. It's not some of the concepts written there are not scientifically proven, of course, because that was not possible. Some are just ideas, some are just thoughts, direction of thoughts. I think it makes sense, but at the end, does it change your life when we taste a cigar? That's another thing, right?
First
Thank
of all,
you so much.
Oleg, many thanks for the question, and Didier, thanks for taking so much time and answering all these wonderful questions. And for everybody who joined us a bit later, especially for those watching the live stream, if you want to get Didier's book and you want to take your cigar journey a bit further with studying his wonderful book, we have a special promo code that Didier graciously offered us, which is Lightemup, and it will guarantee you a 10% discount when purchasing Didier's book. And one question that goes to the evolution, Didier, and that sort of focuses a little bit back on what Macy said and what he wrote in his article. You're an avid lover of vintage cigars, and by that we mean like old cigar jams from days long gone. But the concept of vintage that Macy was discussing in his article refers to how we would interpret vintage in the wine world. And I was curious about your perspective as to, do you think that consistency, which is sometimes considered as a pinnacle in the cigar making process, is what everybody should be looking for and is always looking for? Or should we learn a bit from the wine industry and adapt a more flexible approach and appreciation for the natural variances that come with the natural product and what Mother Nature has to offer on a yearly basis?
That's a good question. That's only a good question. I have the feeling I'm always repeating that's a good question. Indeed, it is. Consistency for me is very important, especially when we produce something. When we produce something with a certain objective, we need to be consistent with trying to make the product as similar as we can. Now, as you mentioned, when it's a product of Mother Nature, we cannot, to set an aspect of the production, especially the production, the agricultural production, we cannot control it, because one year is a little bit more sunny or less, one year is more rainy or less, etc. You all know how it works. So there are some variability there that we cannot control. But in the production, we need to have a consistency. I'm a huge partisan of consistency because it's very important. It's difficult to do a good cigar, but it's even more difficult to do a good cigar consistent in its production, or among the different cigars from the same lot, or if it's or if different lots are produced among different years, then we need to have a consistency within the year. If it's not lots or small batches. So yes, but we always have, even if we have a consistent product, I think we always have the variability of Mother Nature. Now, what can be frustrating or frustrating, we can see it positively or negatively. What would be a difference with the wine production is that the wine production, the one we have in one bottle might be a blend, but generally talking is coming from the same year. So the same millésime. So we have a date on the bottle which represents the year of the harvest. In cigars, we cannot do that because we do have agricultural millésime when were the leaves harvested. But as we know, in the blend, we don't have the leaves from the same year, because let's say in a classic cigar we have 5 leaves. The 5 leaves, they are physically different, chemically different, and they have different age. So I tried, just for the curiosity, to blend a cigar with all leaves from the same crop. It's not so interesting unless you start working with older. The older you go, the easier it is, because after a few years it's getting more equal, more comparable. But in a classic cigar, we talk about leaves of age from 1.5 years old to 4.5 years old, roughly. I think we cannot put all the leaves from the same year. So it's a good thing in the sense that we can have more consistency than when we compare to one bottle which comes from the same millésime, and 2018 was fantastic and 2019 was not good at all, or something like this. So that's the good point. The bad point is that yes, it's more standardized. So that would be criticism. Yes.
Very interesting, and I think that Claudius Croy did a fabulous job with his Cosecha series, where he tried to highlight that essence of one particular crop or one particular year of production, I think it adds an extra layer, or it doesn't necessarily add complexity in terms of the aromaticity and the way that aromas and taste profiles are being delivered, but ultimately for the industry, I think it's a valuable contribution to explore that a little more, and probably like everything that you do with your book, ultimately it helps us to better understand the intricacies in tobacco, in growing, blending, manufacturing, and ultimately the enjoyment of the cigars. And that's where I think it's very valuable.
I see on the comments here that Lou Rothman said that vintage refers to the year of the tobacco crop from which the cigar were made. But yes, but this is so when now we touch the transparency and the blend. For instance, in some blends, I sometimes I give the year of all the different leaves, but we very rarely do that. So we say, the wrapper is from this year, the crop of this year, the binder is from that year, blah blah blah. And so you define everything. We can have also, but this is why in some of my communication I made the distinction between the millésime, the vintage. Vintage is not for me another term, but the millésime of the crop, the year of the crop of the leaves, or the year of the production of the cigar.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Because the year of the production of the cigar is, for me, makes more sense than the year of the leaves. Because when we have a blend, sometimes the worker is working better, or he had a fantastic weekend, and then on one day he's doing great cigars, and then on Friday he's tired, and then or she's tired, and then they don't do the same quality. Sometimes that can happen. So when you put the date of the lot, it makes more sense for me.
And I'm fully with you. Pardon, please. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, because I was reading a little bit. Garberian says that the cigar making is closer to champagne production. Yes and no. I like champagne, but I might see what he means. I think it's a he, Garberian, right? I don't know the author. Champagne uses in when you do certain champagnes, you can mix certain millésime, certain juices produced on 1 year with what we call the wine of reserve. So it's like a Solera system where you keep a reserve to standardize the production. So this is why you cannot call it a millésime. Following the laws of champagne production, you cannot call it a millésime. Maybe this is what he wants to say. I don't know. I'm not sure. But yes, in the concept to wrap up this conversation on millésime or vintage, for me, vintage is just an aged cigar. But the concept of millésime is when you put one date on a product.
Didier, I think one great point to sort of tie it together is what you mentioned earlier with the transparency and the information that is being provided. And I think that's something a lot of cigar enthusiasts will certainly appreciate and enjoy, is to have a better insight knowledge and better understanding of all the different components and all the different elements that make for the ultimate cigar experience. And the more we know about it, the more information we can get out of it, all that will be helpful and will ultimately contribute to the enjoyment of that very special moment. And whether that is through Franca's wonderful Cigar Sense platform, whether that is through your book or Cigar Journal's work on the editorial and journalistic side, and also what we try with Lightemup, it's to provide a little bit of that behind the scenes insight, pull away the curtains and offer everybody a better understanding of what makes a premium cigar and what ultimately makes the enjoyment of a premium cigar, because that's what we're all yearning for, and that's what we're all looking for.
Yes, definitely agree.
Didier, what a wonderful show. What a wonderful, wonderful evening. Great time spent with wonderful people here. I'm truly grateful for everything that you shared with us, for the time that you have presented us with today. Certainly plenty to talk about for a follow-up show. So hopefully in due time we can welcome you back here at the Lightemup Lounge. But it's a wrap for today, and I'm really grateful for everybody who joined us today. For all of those who haven't checked out the book, again, please find your copy via cigarthinker.com. I can highly recommend the book. Unfortunately, I'm traveling today, so I don't have the copy with me to show it to the camera, but Franca...
No, but, and something, if I can add, Reinhard, because I saw a few comments on potential signatures and stuff. Right now, I'm in Belgium, so and the warehouse from where we ship the books is located in Belgium. So if you guys pass an order and you put a little note in the comments, I will pay attention in the coming days or weeks, and then I can do a personal note, and we send it next week when I'm at the warehouse before I go back to Asia. So that's definitely possible, because generally talking, when I'm not at the warehouse, it's difficult for me to personalize and to put a comment.
Brilliant. Wonderful. Didier, many thanks. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And all the very best for you, both with your cigars, of course, also with the book. And enjoy your time in Belgium, enjoy your time in Europe whilst you're here.
Thank you very much.
I'll hopefully see you in St. Wolfgang for the Cigar Journal Tasting Panel. And next week, we will be back, of course, with another Lightemup Lounge with another very interesting conversation. We'll welcome Michael Giannini, who is now with Quality Importers. We'll talk about Cigar. We'll talk about the entire portfolio of Quality Importers. And I look forward to next week's show. So please join us again next Wednesday, same time, same station. For today, you all be safe, be well, and light 'em up. Thank you very much. And a goodbye to everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Reinhard. Thank you. Thanks, Didier.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
Thank